Love-inspired Suspense and Harper audio present Uncovering the Truth by Carol J. Post. Performed by Romy Evans. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. 2 Corinthians 5:17. Thank you to my wonderful sister, Kim Coker, my plotting partner, my research buddy, and my all-time best friend. Thank you to my editor, Katie Gowrie, and my critique partners, Karen Fleming and Sabrina Jarima. Your amazing insight always makes my writing better. And lastly, thank you to my husband, Chris, for your encouragement and support. If I had it to do over, I would do it all over again. Chapter 1. The overstuffed backpack landed on the scuffed counter with a thud. Alyssa Anderson rolled her shoulders and rang the bell. 5 minutes later, she was still alone in the motel lobby. Granted, this wasn't the Ritz-Carlton, or even a Holiday Inn, but someone ought to at least be manning the front desk. Hello? Moments later, a young woman came from the back and stepped up to the counter, looking a little harried. Sorry to keep you waiting. How can I help you? I need a room for the night. Maybe more than one night, depending on how long it would take the mechanic to get to her hunk of junk car. Sure thing. She made several clicks of the mouse, squinting at the computer screen. The clock on the wall behind her said almost 4:30. Alyssa shifted her weight to the other foot. Her mother's graveside service would have ended an hour ago. More than a decade had passed since she'd been killed, and she was finally getting a proper burial. Her death, the mourning it deserved. The service had probably been beautiful, with friends and family members remembering a life well lived but cut short. The words spoken over the casket had likely included the 23rd Psalm and other verses of comfort. Alyssa wouldn't know. She hadn't made it. One more reason for her sisters to judge her. It wasn't that she hadn't tried. She'd left Atlanta in plenty of time to make the 5-hour trip to Pensacola. She'd only gotten as far as LaGrange when the old tempo had made a sound resembling an explosion and started rattling as if trying to shake off all 4 fenders. The clerk straightened and met Alyssa's gaze. I'll put you in room 106. That'll be $54.88 with tax. How did you want to pay? Debit card. She hesitated. On second thought, I'll pay cash. She was probably being overly cautious, maybe even a bit paranoid. No one had access to her bank account, so there was no way for anyone to follow her trail through her banking transactions. Regardless, she pulled 2 20s, a 10, and a 5 from her wallet and laid them on the counter. If there was anything she'd learned over the past decade, it was how to take care of herself. After printing a receipt, the clerk slid the room key into its sleeve and wrote 106 on the outside. Checkout is at 11. Thank you. Alyssa folded the receipt, then palmed the room key and slipped both into the back pocket of her jeans. She hoped she wouldn't have to extend her stay. Even if the mechanic didn't get her car fixed until late tomorrow, she'd do what she'd done today. After having her car towed, she had spent 7 hours riding public transportation, roaming the LaGrange Mall and strolling the park to pass the time until check-in. She hadn't bothered to call either of her sisters. One of them would have driven from Pensacola to pick her up as soon as the service was over, but she didn't want charity from anyone. Least of all, her uppity sisters. She dragged the backpack from the counter and slid an arm through one of the straps. The pack was remarkably light considering it held all of her worldly possessions. She heaved a sigh. She was pretty pathetic. 25 years of life, and all she had to show for it fit into a space the size of a carry-on. After walking out the door, she turned left and made her way along the front of the building. Her room was 6 doors down. Her burner phone rang before she'd even made it halfway. She fished it from her pocket and eyed the 706 area code. Her pulse kicked up speed. Maybe the mechanic already knew what was wrong with her car. Now, if she could just get it fixed without having to wipe out her entire savings. Whatever happened, going back to Atlanta wasn't an option. Not if she hoped to escape the latest mess she'd gotten herself into. And since her mother's graveside service was over, there was nothing for her in Pensacola. Nothing except a couple of sisters who would probably rather she not return anyway. She swiped to accept the call and pressed the phone to her ear. She'd guessed right. The call was from Jim's garage, where they'd towed her car, and the mechanic had already diagnosed her engine troubles. Not only that, he'd fixed them. How much do I owe you? $200.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?